Don't forget to support this channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss the next story. She just wanted to do the right thing and return a wallet to a fancy restaurant. Instead, her husband pretended not to know her because of her shabby clothes. "Get out of here, don't embarrass me," he hissed. When she was detained by the manager for being unable to pay, an old janitor suddenly tossed down a limitless black card. But before we get to the story, please drop a comment below and let us know where you're all tuning in from. And don't forget to like and subscribe. The roar of a car service pulling away from the curb was still faintly audible from behind the thin walls of the one-bedroom apartment. Eliza sighed deeply, wiping beads of sweat from her temple with the back of her hand. The scent of sizzling bacon and floor cleaner clung to her. The morning had been a battlefield. She'd had to make breakfast, iron Ryan's work shirt until it was flawlessly crisp, and even polish his Italian leather shoes until she could see her reflection in them. Ryan had told her today was the day. A meeting with a major client that could change the trajectory of his career. "Don't let anything go wrong, Liz. This client is old money. Appearance is everything," Ryan had said that morning, preening in the mirror without a single glance at Eliza, who was on her knees tying his shoelaces. Eliza moved toward the bedroom to straighten the still messy comforter, but her steps came to an abrupt halt at the doorway. Her eyes were fixed on a rectangular, dark brown object lying forlornly on the nightstand, right next to Ryan's expensive bottle of cologne. Eliza's heart sank. It was Ryan's wallet. With a trembling hand, she picked up the thick, heavy leather wallet. She knew exactly what was inside, not just cash, but the corporate credit card and IDs that were absolutely crucial for today. Ryan had excitedly told her he was treating his client at Le Ciel, the most luxurious French restaurant in the heart of downtown. How could Ryan possibly pay the bill if his wallet was still here? "Oh God, Ryan," Eliza whispered in a panic. She immediately grabbed her phone, its screen spiderwebbed with cracks. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, typing a message in the green app. "Ryan, you left your wallet on the nightstand. I'll bring it to you now." Eliza waited. 1 minute, 2 minutes. The status under her message only showed delivered. Maybe Ryan was driving, or maybe he'd turned off his data to focus. She tried calling, but it went straight to voicemail. Panic began to creep into her mind. The image of Ryan being humiliated in front of an important client made her stomach churn. Her husband had an ego the size of a skyscraper. If he was caught without his wallet when the check came, Ryan would be absolutely furious. It wasn't just embarrassment. His career could be over. Eliza glanced at the wall clock. 10:01 a.m. The meeting was scheduled for 11 a.m. There was still time if she left right now. Without a second thought, Eliza ran to the clothes hook behind the door. She snatched an oversized denim jacket, a hand-me-down from her late father. Its color had faded to a dull blue, with frayed threads at the cuffs. She threw it on over the old, worn-out t-shirt and sweatpants she was wearing, which had a small tear near the armpit. No time to change clothes, let alone put on makeup. "The important thing is getting this wallet to him," she muttered, psyching herself up. She grabbed her keys and rushed outside. The sun beat down, seeming to mock her race against time. Eliza didn't have a car. Their only one was with Ryan, a lease he'd gotten after his first promotion. She had to half-walk, half-run to the bus stop 3 blocks away. The cheap rubber flip-flops she wore slapped against the hot asphalt with every step. "Le Ciel, downtown, please," she panted to the Uber driver she'd been forced to call when the bus was late, her breath ragged. "And please hurry." Throughout the ride, Eliza clutched her small crossbody bag tightly, guarding Ryan's wallet as if it were her own life. The city wind whipped through the open window, smacking her makeup-free face and tangling the hair she'd hastily tied back with a rubber band. Dust and exhaust fumes settled on her oily skin. She knew she looked a mess, but her love for Ryan overshadowed her self-consciousness. She was willing to look like a bum as long as her husband could continue to look like a king in front of his client. 40 minutes later, the Uber pulled up in front of the magnificent lobby of Le Ciel. The building was intimidating, with white marble pillars and enormous gleaming glass doors. A line of luxury cars was parked neatly out front. Eliza got out and paid the driver with the last few dollars from her app. As she turned to face the building, her courage faltered. She saw her reflection in the glass lobby doors, a disheveled woman in a worn-out jacket and flip-flops, standing among people in tailored suits and silk dresses. "Deliveries are in the back, ma'am," a security guard in a crisp safari-style uniform said, suddenly blocking her path. His eyes scanned Eliza's appearance from head to toe with a look of disdain. Eliza shook her head quickly, trying to stand up straighter. "No, sir. I'm the wife of one of the guests inside. My husband forgot his wallet. It's very important." The guard scoffed, as if he couldn't believe the woman before him was the wife of a guest at such a high-class establishment. But the determination in Eliza's eyes made him hesitate. "Fine, but be quick about it. And don't cause a scene in the lobby." Eliza nodded and hurried inside. The cold air conditioning hit her skin, a stark contrast to the sweat soaking her back. The scent of lavender aromatherapy and the soft strains of classical music filled the air a world away from the faint smell of bacon that still clung to her clothes. Her eyes swept the vast dining room. Crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceiling, waiters in black vests and bow ties glided between tables, carrying silver trays. And there, at a round table near a large window overlooking a garden, Eliza saw him. Ryan sat with a perfectly straight back, laughing heartily while holding a wine glass. He looked so handsome and dignified. Across from him sat an older man in a gray suit that must be the client. But Eliza's eyes narrowed when she saw the third person at the table, a beautiful young woman with long, flowing hair and a maroon dress that hugged her slender frame. She was sitting very close to Ryan, her hand occasionally touching his arm as she laughed. Eliza's chest tightened. She didn't remember Ryan mentioning a female colleague, but she pushed the suspicion aside. Probably the client's assistant, Eliza thought, trying to be positive. The most important thing now was to save her husband's face. Eliza took a deep breath, clutched Ryan's wallet in her hand, and began to walk toward them. The slap-slap of her flip-flops echoed strangely in the elegant silence of the room, causing several diners to turn and frown. She was only 15 feet away. Eliza saw Ryan turn his head in her direction. The smile on her husband's face vanished instantly, replaced by an expression Eliza had never seen before, a mixture of sheer shock and pure, unadulterated disgust. Ryan's face went pale, his eyes wide, silently screaming for her to stop. But it was too late. Eliza had already raised her hand and called out softly with an innocent, relieved smile. "Ryan." Her voice wasn't loud, but it was enough to silence the table. Ryan's client turned, the beautiful woman beside him turned, and Ryan, the husband she was trying so desperately to save, stared at her as if she were a piece of filth he'd just stepped in. A chilling silence fell over the round table, far colder than the air conditioning. Eliza's hand, holding the thick leather wallet, hung, frozen in the air. Her relieved smile slowly faded, replaced by a confusion that crept up her throat. She expected Ryan to stand up, to hug her, or at least to thank her for saving him from the ultimate social embarrassment. But Ryan didn't move. He sat there, frozen, his face flushed a deep red. His jaw was clenched so tightly that the veins in his neck bulged. His gaze wasn't that of a loving husband, but of a master who had just found a sewer rat in his pristine living room. "Mr. Prescott." The older man, the important client, broke the silence. He set down his cloth napkin and looked at Eliza with a furrowed brow, then back at Ryan. He wrinkled his nose slightly, as if bothered by an unpleasant odor that had suddenly invaded the aroma of steak and expensive wine. "Do you know this woman?" Eliza's heart pounded. She opened her mouth to answer, "I'm his wife, sir," but Ryan was faster, much faster and much, much crueler. "No," Ryan blurted out, his voice a little high-pitched with panic. He let out a strained, artificial laugh that sounded pathetic. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Sterling. My apologies. I have no idea who she is. It seems the restaurant's security has gotten lax, letting people like this into the VIP area." Eliza's world collapsed. Her legs felt weak, as if the marble floor beneath her had turned to quicksand. "Ryan," she whispered, her voice choked. "It's me, Eliza. I brought your wallet." "Enough!" Ryan shot up from his chair so abruptly that it screeched against the floor. He glared at Eliza, his eyes blazing with a threat that made her shrink back. "Hey, lady, if you're looking for a handout, this isn't the place." He turned back to his client. "I've told security a dozen times to get rid of the panhandlers who harass the guests." Tears welled up in Eliza's eyes, unstoppable. Panhandler. Her own husband. The man whose breakfast she prepared every morning, whose hand she kissed before he left for work, had just called her a panhandler in front of a stranger. The beautiful woman next to Ryan covered her nose with an elegant silk handkerchief. Her sharp eyes scanned Eliza's appearance from the frayed denim jacket and the t-shirt peeking out from underneath to the dirty rubber flip-flops. A corner of her lip curled in disgust. "Oh my God, Ryan, she smells awful," the woman complained, waving her hand in front of her face. "Like onions and stale sweat. It's making me sick. Get rid of her, please. I'm losing my appetite." Those words felt like a hot slap across Eliza's face. She knew she hadn't showered. She knew she smelled like the kitchen. But she was like this for Ryan. For the husband who was now looking at her as if she were rotting garbage. "Ryan, how could you?" Eliza tried to take a step forward, holding out the wallet as proof. "I'm not a beggar. This is your wallet. You left it on the nightstand." Ryan snatched the wallet from her hand with a lightning-fast movement, like a pickpocket terrified of being caught. He swiftly hid it in the inner pocket of his suit jacket before Mr. Sterling could get a clear look. "Oh, so you're the one who found my wallet that I dropped in the parking lot?" Ryan twisted the facts seamlessly, his face becoming a mask of dignified authority. "Thank you for returning it, but the way you barged in here is completely inappropriate. You're making my guests uncomfortable." Eliza stood there, dumbfounded. Her tongue felt thick and useless. How could a person be so cruel, and how could that person be the man she called her husband? Mr. Sterling looked skeptical. He glanced from the silently weeping Eliza to Ryan. "Prescott, she seems to know you. Are you sure she just found a wallet?" A cold sweat broke out on Ryan's forehead. He knew he had to get Eliza out of there before his entire charade fell apart. He quickly circled the table and grabbed Eliza's upper arm, his grip so tight his nails dug into her flesh through the thin jacket. "Come with me," Ryan hissed directly into her ear, his voice low and venomous. "Don't you dare say another word, or I swear I will divorce you today." That threat silenced Eliza completely. The word divorce was a nightmare she always tried to avoid, a doctrine drilled into her by her late mother, who always told her to preserve her marriage no matter what. Ryan dragged Eliza away from the VIP table, half pushing her towards a quieter corner of the restaurant, near the hallway leading to the kitchen. Several waiters looked at them with curiosity, but Ryan put on a stern face, as if he were reprimanding an incompetent subordinate. When they reached an empty table hidden behind a large pillar, Ryan violently threw Eliza's arm away from him. She stumbled and fell backward into a chair. "Listen to me, Eliza," Ryan said, jabbing a finger at her face, his hand trembling with rage. His voice was a sharp whisper. "You have just embarrassed me beyond belief. Look at you. You look like a bum." "What do you think, mister?" Sterling would say if he knew my wife looked like a cleaning lady. "Huh?" "I was in a hurry, Ryan. I was scared you wouldn't be able to pay." Eliza sobbed, her head bowed, tears dripping onto her lap. "Excuses," Ryan snapped. He glanced over at the VIP table in the distance. His client and the woman were chatting, waiting for him to return. Ryan realized he couldn't just throw Eliza out. It would cause another scene. He needed a way to silence her temporarily until he could slip away. A devious idea sparked in his mind. His tense face slowly relaxed, replaced by the manipulative mask he so often wore. Okay, I'm sorry I got emotional," Ryan said, his tone softening, though his eyes remained cold as ice. "You must be hungry after all that running around, right?" Eliza looked up, a flicker of hope in her heart that maybe there was still some kindness left in her husband. Ryan flagged down a passing waiter. "Excuse me, please get this woman the full tasting menu. Appetizer, main course, and the most expensive dessert. Let her eat in peace here." The waiter nodded obediently and took out his notepad. Eliza looked at Ryan, confused. "Ryan, I don't need to eat. I'll just go home." "Don't argue." Ryan's eyes flashed with anger again, but he quickly forced a smile as the waiter looked over. "Eat, Liz. It's my way of thanking you for bringing the wallet. Wait here until my meeting is over. Don't go anywhere. Do not get up from this chair until I come get you. Understand?" Eliza nodded hesitantly. Something felt wrong, but her stomach was indeed cramping with hunger, and her legs were weak. Maybe Ryan was right. She should wait until his work was done so they could go home together and talk things out properly. "Remember, stay here and eat. Don't embarrass me again," Ryan said one last time. He turned, straightened his suit jacket, and walked back to the VIP table with his wide, confident smile plastered back on his face, leaving Eliza alone in the corner of the luxurious restaurant. Eliza had no idea that Ryan's smile was a final goodbye, one that would completely shatter her life in just a few short hours. The dishes arrived one by one, delivered by two waiters with blank, expressionless faces. Large plates with small, artistically arranged portions of food now crowded Eliza's table. There was a steak, still red in the center, a thick orange-colored soup with croutons floating on top, and a dessert that emitted a cloud of cold smoke. Eliza swallowed hard, not out of appetite, but out of nervousness. She had no idea how to eat any of this. At home, she ate with a simple fork and spoon. Here, next to her plate, were 3 different forks and 2 knives, all gleaming under the crystal lights. She glanced around. People were dining elegantly, their silverware clinking softly, their conversations in low murmurs. Meanwhile, she sat hunched over in her faded denim jacket, her hair limp, her face shiny with oil. Eliza felt like a wart on a princess's face, small, disgusting, and desperate to be removed. Her gaze stole across the room to the VIP table. Ryan was laughing loudly at something Mr. Sterling had said. The beautiful woman in the maroon dress, his colleague, was now leaning even closer to Ryan, whispering something that made her husband smile smugly. A sharp pain, like a shard of glass, pierced Eliza's heart. Bzz. Eliza's cracked phone vibrated on the table, a new message from Ryan. She quickly opened it, her heart racing, hoping he was telling her to come over and be introduced as his wife. But that hope was shattered when she read the words on the screen. Ryan, stop staring at our table. It's creepy. Mr. Sterling is asking why that homeless woman keeps staring at me. Just eat your food. Keep your head down. Tears welled in Eliza's eyes again. She immediately bowed her head, obeying her husband's command like a bull with a ring through its nose. She was terrified of making him angrier, terrified of the divorce. Eliza, okay, Ryan, I'm sorry, I'm eating now. Eliza, you'll pay for this at the register, right? I don't have any money. Ryan, read. Ryan, yeah. After you eat, leave through the side door by the kitchen. Don't go through the main lobby. You'll cause a scene. I'll be home late tonight. Don't wait up for me. Eliza let out a sigh of relief. At least Ryan was still taking responsibility. With a trembling hand, she picked up the largest fork and clumsily speared a piece of steak. It tasted like ash in her mouth, the flavor completely overwhelmed by the bitterness in her heart. The steak, which she knew cost a fortune, felt like rubber, difficult to swallow past the lump in her throat. She ate quickly, wanting to escape this hell disguised as paradise as soon as possible. Every bite was torture. She imagined how embarrassed Ryan must be to have a wife like her, so much so that he had to hide her in a corner and call her a beggar. Be patient, Eliza. This is for Ryan's career. If Ryan is successful, we'll both benefit, she whispered to herself, repeating the mantra of patience her late mother had always taught her. 15 minutes later, Eliza's plates were empty, leaving only messy smears of sauce. She wiped her mouth with a napkin and dared to look up one last time to see her husband before leaving through the side door as instructed. Thump. Eliza's heart stopped for a second. The VIP table was empty. The chairs where Ryan, Mr. Sterling, and the woman in red had been sitting were vacant. Their dirty plates were still on the table, glasses of wine half full, but the people were gone. Panic seized her. She stood up, her eyes darting around the restaurant. Maybe they went to the restroom, or maybe they were paying at the front register. Eliza waited anxiously. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. There was no sign of Ryan's return. A terrible feeling began to crawl up from her stomach to her chest, a powerful, dark premonition. She grabbed her phone again. Her fingers shook violently as she dialed Ryan's number. The number you have dialed is not in service or is outside the coverage area. Eliza tried sending a text. Eliza, Ryan, where are you? Your table is empty. The message only showed one gray check mark. Ryan's profile picture, which had been a handsome shot of him in front of his company car, had suddenly turned into a blank gray silhouette. The online status beneath his name was gone. Eliza's blood ran cold. He had blocked her. Excuse me, ma'am. A deep voice startled Eliza. She turned to find a male waiter standing beside her table with a stiff expression. In his hand was a small, leather-bound bill folder. Yes? Eliza's voice was hoarse. This table is finished. We need to clear it, the waiter said coldly. Oh yes, my husband. The gentleman at the VIP table over there, he already paid, right? Eliza asked, her voice filled with desperate hope. He said he would pay at the front. The waiter's eyebrows shot up, his expression turned strange. You mean Mr. Prescott? With Mr. Sterling's party? Yes, that's right. Mr. Prescott and his party left through the VIP exit about 15 minutes ago, ma'am, the waiter replied, his tone blunt and without a trace of sympathy. He specifically stated that the bill for this table is separate and is not his responsibility. Eliza's world spun. The marble floor she stood on seemed to crumble away beneath her feet. Separate, not his responsibility. But, Eliza stammered, her face ashen. He's my husband. He ordered all of this for me. I'm sorry, ma'am. His instructions were clear. This table's bill is to be paid independently. The waiter cut in firmly. He opened the leather folder and presented a long white slip of paper to Eliza. Please settle your payment. Eliza stared at the number printed at the very bottom of the receipt. Her eyes widened, and the breath caught in her throat. The row of zeros seemed to mock her poverty. Total bill, $385.50, including tax and service charge. Eliza fumbled in her jacket pocket. Empty. Ryan had taken the wallet. In the pocket of her sweatpants, she had only a few crumpled dollar bills and a house key. Sir, I don't have any money, Eliza whispered, tears finally spilling over. The waiter let out a harsh sigh, as if he'd been expecting this. He raised his hand, signaling someone across the room. From the direction of the kitchen, a stocky man in a sharp black suit with a name tag that read, Manager strode toward them, his face a thunderous mask. An aura of intimidation radiated from him. What's the problem here? The manager demanded, his baritone voice echoing and causing guests at nearby tables to turn and watch the pitiful spectacle unfold. Eliza took a step back, cornered between the fancy table and a cold wall. She was alone, abandoned, and trapped by her own husband, now facing a threat she had never imagined in her entire life. The manager, whose name tag read Henderson, loomed over Eliza like a cold concrete wall. He didn't shout, but his low, emphatic tone was far more terrifying than a yell. We don't tolerate drama here, ma'am. Your choices are simple. Pay the $385.50 bill right now, or I'll have security escort you to the police station on charges of defrauding an innkeeper. Eliza shook her head frantically, tears streaming down her dull cheeks. She gripped the edge of the white tablecloth, searching for something to hold on to in her violently shaking world. I swear to God, sir, I'm not a fraud. Eliza's voice was broken, hoarse, and pathetic. I am Ryan Prescott's wife. My husband was sitting right over there. He told me to eat. Please just ask him, sir. Please. Henderson snorted. He crossed his arms over his chest, looking down at Eliza with eyes full of contempt. Just so you know, ma'am, before Mr. Prescott left, he gave a special message to our front desk staff. Eliza froze, her breath caught in her throat. A message. What message? Henderson leaned in slightly, bringing his face closer to Eliza's so his words would be clear and piercing. He said, and I quote, Be careful with the homeless woman sitting in the corner. She's a stalker who's obsessed with me. If she claims to be my wife or asks you to put her bill on my tab, don't believe her. I don't know her. Those were the exact words from the mouth of the husband you're so proud of. Boom. It felt as if a lightning bolt had struck her right in the chest. Her body went limp. It felt as though her bones were being pulled out one by one. A stalker, a crazy person. So this wasn't an accident. Ryan hadn't forgotten. Ryan had deliberately trapped her. Her own husband had orchestrated this entire scenario to have her humiliated, detained, and possibly jailed, all because she showed up to deliver his wallet in old clothes. No, that's not possible, Eliza whispered, her eyes staring blankly at the marble floor. He's my husband. We've been married for 5 years. Enough of this nonsense, Henderson snapped, his patience gone. He snapped his fingers. 2 security guards in safari uniforms immediately moved to flank Eliza. Search her bag. Take any valuables as collateral, Henderson commanded. No, Eliza cried out as her small crossbody bag was yanked from her shoulder. Please, sir, don't. That was my mother's. The guard didn't care. He dumped the contents of her bag onto the table, among the dirty dishes. The items rolled out pathetically. A few crumpled dollar bills, a plastic comb with 2 broken teeth, a wrinkled tissue, and a house key on a keychain with a grimy teddy bear. The other diners in the restaurant were now openly staring. Some were whispering behind their hands. A few even pulled out their phones to record the incident. Disgusting. Eating at a place like this with nothing but a sob story, a socialite at the next table commented, loud enough for everyone to hear. Henderson sneered at Eliza's scattered belongings. Nothing of value. Then, his eyes landed on the only electronic device there, Eliza's smartphone, with its cracked screen. "Take her phone," Henderson ordered. "No," Eliza fought back, trying to grab the phone. It held photos of her late mother and the only proof of her text conversations with Ryan. If they took it, she would lose everything. "I'm begging you, sir, please don't take my phone." One of the guards grabbed Eliza's arm, twisting it painfully behind her back until she whimpered. Henderson picked up the phone and pressed the power button. The lock screen lit up, showing a photo from Eliza and Ryan's wedding 5 years ago. Ryan was smiling sweetly, and Eliza looked beautiful in a simple white dress. Henderson paused for a moment. The proof was right there. This woman was telling the truth, but instead of feeling a shred of pity, his expression hardened. In the world of luxury hospitality, the rich client was always right, and the poor person was always wrong. If Mr. Prescott, a VIP who often held corporate events here, wanted this woman to be treated as a stranger, then Henderson would obey the money, not the truth. This piece of junk might fetch $50 at a pawn shop, still a long way from paying a nearly $400 bill, Henderson said coldly. He slipped Eliza's phone into his suit pocket. "Take her to the back room. Have her wash dishes or clean toilets until one of her family members comes with the money. If no one pays by closing time, hand her over to the nearest precinct." "Yes, sir." Eliza was dragged away, her feet scraping against the floor because she no longer had the strength to stand. One of her flip-flops came off, left behind under the table as a silent witness to her ruin. "Ryan!" Eliza screamed her husband's name, a cry of despair that echoed through the luxurious room. But Ryan wasn't there. There were only contemptuous stares and the camera phones of strangers, recording her shame. The guards dragged her down a hallway toward the kitchen. The fragrant smell of food was replaced by the harsh odor of soap and rotting garbage. They threw her into a small, cramped storage room filled with stacked boxes and cleaning equipment. "Stay in here, and don't even think about trying to escape," one of the guards barked, before slamming a metal door and locking it from the outside. Clang. Darkness. Stale air. Eliza slid to the cold, damp floor. She hugged her knees, her body racked with silent, violent sobs. Her chest felt impossibly tight. The pain of betrayal was far sharper than the fear of jail. Ryan, the man she had served like a king, the man she had put before everyone, including herself, had just metaphorically killed her without laying a hand on her. In that darkness, amidst her heartbreaking sobs, Eliza didn't notice a small ventilation grate high up in the corner of the room, connecting to a staff corridor. And behind that grate, a pair of kind, old eyes were watching her with a look of profound pity and restrained fury. The small room smelled damp, a mixture of wet mops, pungent floor cleaner, and dusty cardboard boxes. A single, dim, yellow light bulb flickered overhead, as if it, too, was dying along with Eliza's spirit. Eliza huddled in the corner, hugging her knees tightly. The cold of the concrete floor seeped through her thin sweatpants, chilling her to the bone. But that physical cold was nothing compared to the ice that now encased her heart. In the silence, voices from the past replayed in her head like a broken record. She remembered 5 years ago, when Ryan proposed with nothing more than a pair of cheap silver rings and a pocketful of promises. Back then, Ryan had nothing. His car was always breaking down. He wore the same few shirts over and over. It was Eliza who had saved money from her factory job to buy him a decent pair of work shoes. It was Eliza who sold the gold bracelet her late mother had left her to pay for Ryan's professional certification courses. "Just be patient, babe. When I make it big, you'll be my queen. You won't have to work another day in your life. I'll buy you diamonds," Ryan had said back then, his eyes shining. Eliza let out a bitter, hoarse laugh that echoed off the cramped walls of the storage room. "Queen," she whispered, fresh tears tracing paths down her cheeks. "What kind of queen gets called a beggar and is accused of being a stalker by her own king?" She touched her bare neck. No diamonds, no gold. There was only an old silver locket, a simple, worn piece she had found in her mother's sewing box before she passed away. Ryan often told her to throw away the tacky old thing, but Eliza always refused. Now, she felt like a fool, an absolute fool. She had given her youth, her beauty, and her dignity to a man who couldn't even be bothered to acknowledge her existence in front of others. The hunger that had been twisting her stomach was gone, replaced by a nauseating wave of stress-induced sickness. Her head throbbed. Skreek. The sound of a rusty hinge slowly opening made Eliza jump. Her body tensed. She pressed her back against the wall, preparing for more insults from Henderson or the rough hands of the security guards. But there were no shouts. Instead, an elderly figure with a slightly stooped back appeared. The man was wearing a faded, light gray janitor's uniform with a few bleach stains on it. His hair was completely white, his face a roadmap of deep wrinkles that held 1,000 tired stories. In his hand, he held a plastic bottle of water. The old man entered slowly, closing the door quietly behind him. He set his broom and dustpan in a corner and then walked with a slight limp toward Eliza. "Here, drink this, child." The old man's voice was gravelly but gentle, a stark contrast to the cruelty of everyone else in this lavish restaurant. Eliza looked at him uncertainly. The old man's eyes were calm, reminding her of her late father's gaze. I don't have any money to pay for water, sir," Eliza whispered. The old man offered a small, sincere smile. "It's free. I got it from the employee dispenser. Drink up. You're as pale as a ghost." With a trembling hand, Eliza accepted the bottle. She drank greedily, the cool water soothing her parched throat and giving her a sliver of strength. "Thank you, sir," she said, wiping her chin. The old man, whose name tag read Samuel, sat cross-legged on the floor, not far from her. He didn't seem to mind the dirty concrete. "I saw everything earlier," Samuel said quietly, his eyes gazing at the stacks of boxes. "I was mopping near that pillar when your husband dragged you over. I also heard what he told the manager." Eliza looked down in shame. "You must be disgusted with me. Even my own husband is ashamed of me." "You're not the one who should be ashamed, child." "He is," Samuel cut in firmly. His tone suddenly held a surprising authority, despite his humble appearance. "Your clothes are simple, but your eyes are honest. He wears an expensive suit, but his heart is filthier than my mop water." Those simple words broke down the last of Eliza's defenses. She burst into tears again, but this time they were not tears of fear, but of relief. Relief that at least one person in this place still saw her as a human being. "I was just trying to bring him his wallet, sir. I was afraid he'd be embarrassed." "But why would he do this to me?" she sobbed. Samuel sighed deeply. He reached into the pocket of his worn trousers and pulled out a cloth handkerchief. It was old, but it was clean and neatly ironed. He offered it to Eliza. "Wipe your tears. A good woman's tears are too precious to be wasted on a man who has forgotten where he came from," Samuel said. As Eliza took the handkerchief, the sleeve of her jacket slipped back, revealing the simple silver locket hanging from her neck. The dim light from the flickering bulb caught the worn metal. Samuel's eyes fixed on it, and his body went rigid. His once calm gaze was now sharp, focused intently on the object around Eliza's neck. "Child," Samuel's voice trembled with urgency. "May I see your locket for a moment?" Eliza was confused but nodded slowly. She held up the pendant. This was my late mother's, sir." Samuel leaned closer, squinting to see the tiny, faded initials engraved on the back of the locket. His breath caught in his throat. He recognized those initials. He knew them intimately. This wasn't just any locket. It was the key to a long-lost past. Before Samuel could ask another question, the storeroom door was thrown open violently. Bang! Manager Henderson stood in the doorway, his face red with rage. Behind him, 2 uniformed police officers stood ready, handcuffs glinting in their hands. "So, here you are," Henderson spat. He looked with disgust at Samuel sitting on the floor. "Hey, Sam, what are you doing in here? Conspiring with this fraud? Get out and get back to work before I dock your pay." Henderson then turned his attention back to Eliza with a sadistic, triumphant smirk. "Time's up, ma'am. No family came, no money arrived. Now you can explain yourself down at the station." He gestured to the police. "Officers, take her into custody. She's being charged with theft of services and defrauding an innkeeper." One of the officers stepped forward, pulling out the cold steel handcuffs. "Stand up, miss. You need to come with us." Eliza let out a choked cry, backing away until her back hit the wall. "It's over. My life is over. I'm going to be a criminal." But before the officer's hand could touch Eliza's arm, a wrinkled but firm hand shot out and slapped it away. Samuel was on his feet. He was no longer stooped. He stood tall between Eliza and the police, spreading his arms protectively. His old face now radiated an aura that could make anyone's courage falter. "No one touches her," Samuel said, his low voice booming with an undeniable threat. Henderson laughed mockingly. "Have you lost your mind, Sam? Get out of the way. You want to get arrested too?" Samuel reached into the back pocket of his grimy trousers. With a calm but deadly motion, he pulled out a wallet made of genuine alligator skin, something so expensive it was completely at odds with his janitor's uniform. From it, he drew a solid black card with a metallic sheen. The American Express Centurion card, the legendary black card held by only a handful of the world's wealthiest individuals. He threw the card, and it hit Henderson square in the chest. "Swipe it," Samuel commanded coldly. "Pay her bill. Buy the whole damn restaurant if you have to. And then fire yourself, effective immediately." The solid black card fluttered through the air, seeming to turn in slow motion before it bounced off Manager Henderson's chest. Reflexively, Henderson caught it before it hit the dirty floor. Silence. The only sound in the stuffy room was Eliza's own ragged breathing. The two police officers, who had been ready to slap on the cuffs, now just looked at each other, utterly bewildered by the sudden turn of events. Henderson stared at the card in his hand. At first, he was about to laugh, to mock the old janitor for having stolen a toy card or an expired card from a guest. But the laugh died in his throat as his fingers registered the cool, heavy texture of the object. It wasn't plastic, it was titanium. His eyes widened as he read the name embossed in silver lettering, Samuel H. Davenport. Henderson's face, which had been red with anger, turned a ghastly, sheet white. His knees knocked together so violently they made an audible sound. Samuel H. Davenport. The name was a legend. The owner of the Davenport conglomerate, a massive corporation that owned dozens of hotels, properties, and, of course, the Le Ciel restaurant chain where they were currently standing. "No, it can't be," Henderson stammered, his voice squeaking like a trapped mouse. His eyes darted frantically between the card in his hand and the old man in the dirty janitor's uniform before him. "Sir, Mr. Davenport? The big boss?" Samuel, or rather, Mr. Davenport, didn't answer. He simply took a step forward and slowly removed the grimy baseball cap that had been hiding part of his face. He ran his fingers through his white hair, slicking it back. Though he still wore the stained gray uniform, the aura emanating from him had completely transformed. It was no longer the aura of a stooped servant, but of an emperor walking disguised among his people. "What's the matter? Surprised to see your company's owner mopping the floors?" Mr. Davenport's voice was calm, but every syllable carried a weight that could crush stone. "I was conducting one of my routine inspections, undercover, to see how my staff treats our customers, and I must say, the results are profoundly disappointing." Henderson was trembling so hard he dropped the card. He immediately fell to his knees at Mr. Davenport's feet, all pride forgotten. "Forgive me, sir. I didn't know. I swear, I had no idea it was you, sir. If you had known it was me, you would have been licking my shoes. But because you thought she," he gestured to Eliza, "was a powerless, simple woman, you trampled all over her dignity. Mr. Davenport cut in coldly, kicking Henderson's grasping hand away. He turned to the two baffled police officers. "Officers, you may leave. There's been no crime committed here. I will be paying this young lady's bill tenfold. As for this man, Mr. Davenport pointed a finger at Henderson. "I am handling his termination internally." The officers nodded stiffly, gave an awkward salute, and quickly exited the room, wanting no part in this battle of giants. Now it was just the three of them. Eliza was still leaning against the wall, her mouth agape, watching the scene unfold in utter disbelief. The old janitor who had given her water was a billionaire. Mr. Davenport crouched in front of Eliza, his gaze softened again, becoming warm, like a father's. "Forgive me, child," he said. "I acted too late. I wanted to see just how rotten the management here had become, but I couldn't bear to see you cry any longer. Are you really the owner of this place? Eliza asked faintly, still afraid this was all a dream. Mr. Davenport smiled. He took the handkerchief back from her hand and gently wiped the tear stains from her cheeks. It's a long story, child, but more important than this restaurant is the locket around your neck. Mr. Davenport pointed to Eliza's silver pendant. Eliza clutched her necklace. My mother's locket. Your mother's name was Eleanor, wasn't it? Mr. Davenport guessed, his own eyes welling up. Eliza gasped. How did you know? Because I had this locket made for her, 30 years ago. A gift for the woman who saved my life during the city riots. Eleanor was my dearest friend and my savior. I spent years trying to find her to repay my debt, but we lost contact. A tear rolled down Mr. Davenport's wrinkled cheek. I see now that she's gone. But fate has allowed me to meet her daughter in my own establishment, while she was being wronged. Mr. Davenport stood and extended a hand to Eliza. Stand up, child. From this moment on, you are no longer a woman to be scorned. You are the adopted daughter of Samuel Davenport. No one will ever be allowed to touch you, let alone hurt you. Eliza took his hand. The old hand felt strong and warm, pulling her up from the abyss of despair. Henderson, still kneeling on the floor, looked up with a face slick with cold sweat. Sir, what about me? You? Mr. Davenport glanced at him with disgust, not even turning his head fully. Pack your things. You're fired. And I will make sure your name is blacklisted from every hospitality association in this country. You will never work in this industry again. Henderson went limp, collapsing onto the floor. Mr. Davenport led Eliza out of the smelly storage room and into the staff corridor. Eliza's steps were still unsteady, as one of her flip-flops was missing. Oh, right, child. Mr. Davenport stopped for a moment, remembering something. Your husband, what was his name? And where does he work? Ryan. Ryan Prescott, sir, Eliza answered quietly. He works at Zenith Corp as a marketing manager. Mr. Davenport's steps halted again. A slow, chillingly mysterious smile spread across his lips. Zenith Corp. He chuckled softly, a sound that sent a shiver down the spine. What a small world, child. Zenith Corp is one of my newest subsidiary companies. Mr. Davenport turned to Eliza, his eyes gleaming with a plan for vengeance. So the husband who threw you out like trash is living off my money. Eliza nodded hesitantly. Mr. Davenport pulled a sleek, top-of-the-line smartphone from his pocket, another item that clashed with his janitor's uniform. Well then, he whispered, dialing a number. Let's play a little game. Today, he feels like a king. Tomorrow, we'll make sure he can't even afford a cup of coffee. The gleaming black sedan glided through the city streets, now thick with rush-hour traffic. Inside, the silence was comforting. The scent of new leather and a subtle sandalwood air freshener eased the throbbing in Eliza's head. She sat on the plush back seat, a world away from the creaky wooden chairs in her apartment's living room. Beside her, Mr. Davenport had changed. His shabby janitor's uniform was gone, replaced by a silk blend dress shirt that radiated the quiet authority of a tycoon. Eliza looked at her own reflection in the car window. Pathetic. Her eyes were swollen. If she'd worn mascara, it would be a mess. Her hair was a tangled knot, and her late father's denim jacket looked utterly demeaning inside such a luxurious car. Need another tissue, child? Mr. Davenport asked gently. Eliza shook her head slowly. I think I'm all out of tears, sir. Good, Mr. Davenport replied firmly. He looked straight ahead at his private driver, who navigated the traffic with smooth precision. Because from now on, you don't need tears. You need a strategy. Eliza looked down, fiddling with the hem of her jacket. I still can't believe it, sir. Ryan, he's my husband. We started with nothing. I was with him when we had to split a single pack of ramen for dinner. Why would he throw me away like trash, just because I looked bad in front of his client? Because he forgot who built his foundation, Mr. Davenport answered, his voice growing heavy. Men like Ryan are like a tree that forgets its roots. But it's worse than that. He didn't just forget his roots. He tried to burn them to make himself look cleaner. He doesn't realize that without those roots, he'll rot from the inside out. Mr. Davenport handed Eliza her phone, which he'd retrieved from Henderson. Check your phone. Turn on your data. I'm sure he's sent you some more garbage by now. Eliza hesitated for a second, then did as he said. As soon as the cellular data connected, her phone buzzed nonstop. A stream of notifications from one contact, Ryan. Eliza opened the messages, her heart pounding. There were 5 new ones. 2:30 p.m. Where are you? Don't tell me you're still at the restaurant making a scene. 2:45 p.m. I'm back at the office. Don't you dare try to call me here or cause any more drama. 3:10 p.m. I'm not coming home tonight. Have to work late preparing for my promotion tomorrow. Don't wait up. 3:15 p.m. And one more thing. Get rid of that trashy old jacket of your dad's. I'm sick of looking at it. That last message made Eliza's blood boil. The sadness that had dominated her heart began to evaporate, replaced by a searing heat in her chest. Rage. For the first time in their 5-year marriage, Eliza felt truly, incandescently angry. Not just for being insulted, but for Ryan dragging her late father into it. That jacket was the only hug she had left from him, and Ryan had told her to throw it away. Eliza gripped her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her breathing was ragged. He said he's working late, she hissed, her voice trembling with fury. But I saw him with that woman. He's out having fun with her. Correct, Mr. Davenport said calmly. He opened his tablet, tapped the screen a few times, and showed it to Eliza. This is the corporate expense log. Ryan booked the presidential suite at the Grand Imperial Hotel, another one of my properties under the company's name for client entertainment. Check-in was this afternoon. Eliza's eyes widened as she saw the proof. A luxury hotel during work hours, and he called it working late. He's cheating on me, sir, Eliza whispered. The sound was broken, but this time there were no sobs. Using company money. My money, to be precise, Mr. Davenport corrected her. He used my facilities to betray the daughter of my dearest friend. 2 fatal mistakes in one day. He took back the tablet and looked at Eliza intently. Now, the choice is yours, Eliza. I could have him fired this very second with a single phone call. I could have him thrown out of that hotel room naked right now. That would be easy for me. Mr. Davenport paused, letting his words sink in. But would that be enough to satisfy the pain in your heart? Would it be a fair trade for the humiliation you suffered in that restaurant today? Eliza was silent. She imagined Ryan being fired right now. He would come home, screaming, blaming her for everything, maybe even hitting her. Then they would get a divorce, and Ryan would still believe he was the victim. Ryan would never understand how valuable she had been. He would never feel the sting of public humiliation that she had felt. Eliza shook her head slowly. The defeated look in her eyes began to sharpen. A small flame ignited there, the fire of a wronged woman's vengeance. No, sir. That's too easy for him, Eliza said, her voice cold. Mr. Davenport smiled, satisfied. He saw the change. He saw the resurrection in Eliza. Then what do you want? I want him to feel what I felt, Eliza said, each word laced with purpose. I want him to be so ashamed he feels it in his bones. I want him to see me the bum of a wife he threw away, standing in a place he could never hope to reach. And then, I will be the one to throw him away. Brilliant, Mr. Davenport praised. The car turned into the gates of a magnificent mansion in an exclusive neighborhood, Mr. Davenport's home. Tomorrow night, Zenith Corp is hosting its annual gala dinner. It's where they'll announce Ryan's promotion to regional director. He has invited all the top executives, and of course, he will bring that woman as his date, not you. Eliza gave a bitter smile. He'll probably tell everyone I'm sick, or too unsophisticated to attend. Precisely. But tomorrow, we're changing the script, Mr. Davenport said, his old face serious. I will attend, not as an owner observing from afar, but as the guest of honor, who will be introducing the company's newest majority shareholder. Eliza looked at him, confused. Who's the shareholder, sir? Mr. Davenport pointed at Eliza's chest. You are. Me? Eliza gasped. But I don't have any money, sir. I barely finished high school. You have an inheritance far greater than money. You have a strong heart, and as of today, you have the full backing of Samuel Davenport. Consider this, me finally repaying my life debt to your mother. I will gift a portion of my shares to you on paper, for now to give you the legal authority to destroy him in front of an official audience. The car stopped in front of the grand entrance of the house. The door was opened by a uniformed butler. But before they got out, Mr. Davenport looked at Eliza's appearance from head to toe. First, however, we have to get rid of this Cinderella before the ball look. Ryan said he was disgusted by the sight of you. Tomorrow, we will make sure he doesn't even dare to meet your eyes, because you will be dazzling." Eliza stepped out of the car. The evening breeze felt cool on her face. She took a deep breath, inhaling the air of freedom. No more smell of bacon. No more smell of floor cleaner. She looked up at the sky, which was turning a beautiful shade of orange. In her heart, she said goodbye to the old Eliza. The obedient Eliza, the foolish Eliza, the Eliza who let herself be trampled. "Let's go, sir," Eliza said firmly. Her steps were no longer shuffling. Her back was straight. "Teach me how to be a queen." In her jacket pocket, her phone vibrated again. A new message from Ryan. "Ryan. Hey, you just read my messages? Answer me. Where are you staying? Don't you dare be wasting money." Eliza didn't reply. Instead, she turned her phone off completely. The corner of her lip lifted into a cold, terrifying smile. "Just you wait, Ryan," Eliza thought. "Just you wait." That night, in one of the guest suites in Mr. Davenport's mansion, a room 3 times the size of Eliza's entire apartment, a major transformation was underway. Eliza wasn't sleeping on the plush king-sized bed. She was sitting upright in front of a large vanity mirror, surrounded by bright lights. 3 professionals, summoned by Mr. Davenport, worked in quiet, efficient harmony. A middle-aged woman was massaging Eliza's face with a rose-scented serum, while 2 others worked on her hair and nails. "Your skin is actually very good, ma'am. Smooth, with a warm undertone. It's just been neglected and exposed to too much kitchen smoke," the esthetician commented while applying a cool mask. Eliza closed her eyes. The smells of onion and dish soap that had been her natural perfume for the last 5 years were gone, replaced by the scents of lavender, chamomile, and a level of luxury she had never imagined. Her body, usually aching from ironing and mopping, felt light and relaxed after hours of spa treatments. But the physical changes were only on the surface. Inside, Eliza was rebuilding the shattered pieces of her self-worth. Every time she remembered Ryan's disgusted look at the restaurant, every time the words bum and panhandler echoed in her mind, her resolve hardened into steel. Ping. Eliza's phone, lying on the vanity, lit up with another message from Ryan. "Ryan, hey, are you deaf? Where are you? Are you coming home or not? If you're not home tomorrow morning to get my suit ready, you're going to regret it." Eliza picked up the phone. A year ago, a message like that would have made her tremble with fear and rush to apologize. But now, she just looked at the screen with a cold, mocking smile. Her fingers, now elegant with perfectly manicured nails, danced over the screen, typing a short, deceptive reply. "Eliza, I'm sorry, Ryan. I was afraid to come home because you were so angry. I'm staying with an old friend. Just focus on your work. I already pressed all your suits. They're in the closet. Sent." Eliza knew Ryan's character perfectly. He didn't care where she was, as long as his physical needs were met, clean clothes, ready, and her not bothering him. Sure enough, Ryan's reply came a second later. "Ryan, good. Glad you know your place. Don't come back until you're ready to stop being an embarrassment. I have a big event tomorrow night. I'll be home late. Don't call me." Eliza placed her phone face down. "Enjoy your last night of glory, Ryan," she whispered. The bedroom door opened. Mr. Davenport walked in, followed by an assistant carrying a garment bag. "Are you ready, child?" he asked. Eliza turned. The makeup artist had just finished applying a deep maroon lipstick to her lips, a color that radiated confidence, boldness, and mystery. It was a far cry from the pale nude she usually wore, so Ryan wouldn't call her tacky. "I'm ready, sir," she answered. The assistant unzipped the garment bag, revealing a breathtaking evening gown of sapphire blue satin. The cut was modest yet elegant, designed to showcase class, not to cheapen with exposure. A small diamond brooch was pinned at the neckline, sparkling sharply. But Mr. Davenport held up a hand. "Don't use the brooch," he commanded. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. "Use this instead." Eliza opened the box. Her mother's simple silver locket lay inside. But it was different. It had been professionally polished until it glowed, and its old chain had been replaced with a delicate but strong white gold one. A perfect fusion of a humble past and a luxurious present. Let Ryan see that the very thing he told you to throw away is now worn by a majority shareholder of his company, Mr. Davenport said. The next evening, the ballroom of the Grand Imperial Hotel was filled with corporate executives, business partners, and the city's socialites. A giant crystal chandelier illuminated the room, which was decorated with lavish bouquets of imported flowers. Ryan stood in the middle of a crowd, a glass of champagne in his hand, laughing boisterously. He wore his finest tuxedo, bought on a payment plan with his credit card. Clinging to his arm was the woman from the restaurant, Jessica, now in a slinky red dress. She was a director's secretary and Ryan's mistress. "You're amazing, Ryan. I heard Mr. Davenport himself signed off on your promotion to regional director," Jessica cooed. "Of course he did, babe." Ryan puffed out his chest. "Old man Davenport rarely shows up, but he knows who his valuable assets are. Without me, this quarter's sales would have been a disaster. This position is mine by right." Ryan scanned the room arrogantly. He felt like the king of the world. His frumpy, unsophisticated wife was probably curled up in their tiny apartment, eating instant noodles alone while he partied with the elite. This was how it should be. Diamonds belong with diamonds, not with pebbles from a riverbed. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?" The MC's voice boomed from the speakers, silencing the chatter. The orchestra's music softened. Tonight is a very special night for Zenith Corp. In addition to celebrating our annual achievements, Mr. Samuel Davenport, our esteemed owner and founder who so rarely makes public appearances, has graced us with his presence to make a very important announcement. Thunderous applause erupted. Ryan clapped the loudest, his face beaming. He was certain the important announcement was about his promotion. He already had his victory speech prepared. However, the MC continued, a hint of tension in his voice, Mr. Davenport has not come alone. He has brought with him a figure who has, until now, remained behind the scenes. The person who, as of today, will officially hold a 40% controlling interest in the company. Silence. Whispers started to ripple through the crowd. 40%? That meant this person had the absolute power to fire anyone, even the board of directors. Ryan frowned. Who could that be? "I thought all of Davenport's kids were overseas," he whispered to Jessica. "And now, without further ado, let's welcome them," the MC shouted. The massive double doors at the end of the ballroom swung open. A thin layer of dry ice smoke billowed out for dramatic effect. All eyes were fixed on the entrance, including Ryan's, who stood on his toes to get a better look. Two figures emerged. Mr. Davenport, looking sharp in a dark gray suit, walked with a confident stride, and on his arm was a woman in a stunning sapphire blue gown. Her hair was swept up in a modern chignon, with a few soft curls framing her face. Her makeup was bold, accentuating high cheekbones, and around her neck a simple silver locket glowed mysteriously under the spotlight. The woman walked with her chin held high, her gaze straight, cold, and deadly. Her eyes scanned the crowd and then stopped, locking onto one person. Ryan. The champagne flute slipped from Ryan's hand, shattering on the floor with a loud, embarrassing crash. Crash. All the color drained from Ryan's face. His mouth fell open, his eyes nearly bulging from their sockets. His legs trembled so violently he had to grab onto a nearby table for support. Eliza, he choked out, his voice a strangled, disbelieving whisper. "That's not possible." From the stage, Eliza saw her husband's reaction. The corner of her mouth lifted ever so slightly. It wasn't the sweet smile of a wife, but the smirk of an executioner ready to deliver the final verdict. The sound of the shattering glass was like the opening bell for a tragic circus act. Red wine bled into the thick ballroom carpet, staining Ryan's polished shoes, just as his sins were now staining his soul. But Ryan didn't care. His eyes were locked on the woman on the stage. "Ryan, what's wrong with you? You're making a scene," Jessica hissed, elbowing him in the ribs. She took a step back, not wanting the spilled wine to splash onto her expensive dress. "And who is that woman? Why is she staring at us?" Ryan didn't answer. His throat was tight. His brain scrambled to find a logical explanation. "That can't be Eliza," his mind screamed in denial. "Eliza is dowdy. Eliza smells like onions. Eliza is just a high school graduate whose only skills are cooking and cleaning." The woman on stage glowed like a diamond. Her skin was luminous, her posture as graceful as a queen's, and her eyes, That gaze held a power that made Ryan's very soul cringe. But the locket, that tacky old silver locket he had always despised, it was there, around her neck, confirming her identity more powerfully than any words ever could. Mr. Davenport took the microphone, his voice resonating through the hall, deep and authoritative. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming," he began. The room fell silent. "As promised, tonight I am here to announce a major restructuring within Zenith Corp. I am getting too old. This company needs new blood. It needs a new conscience." Mr. Davenport turned to his side, looking at Eliza with pride. "Please allow me to introduce my adopted daughter and, as of today, the holder of a 40% controlling interest in this company, Miss Alyssa Vance." Boom! Ryan's heart felt like it had exploded. His knees gave out. Adopted daughter? Controlling interest? Rousing applause filled the room, but to Ryan, it sounded like the deadly drone of 1,000 hornets. In the midst of his panic, Ryan's opportunistic instincts, his survival mechanism of shameless flattery kicked in. His fear morphed into a crazy, desperate hope. "If Eliza is the boss, that means I'm the boss's husband," Ryan thought wildly. "I could be CEO. I could have it all." He began pushing his way through the crowd, bumping into a waiter and sending a tray of drinks crashing to the floor. He didn't care. He half ran towards the stage, forcing a wide, grotesque smile onto his sweat-drenched face. "Eliza! Honey!" Ryan shouted, his voice cutting through the applause. The entire room turned to look at him. Jessica, left behind in the crowd, stared in shock at her secret lover's bizarre behavior. Ryan reached the front of the stage. He waved with a familiarity he didn't feel, as if he were a prince arriving to claim his queen. "Mr. Davenport, that's my wife," Ryan yelled proudly, pointing at Eliza. He then turned to the audience, his face beaming. "Everyone, let me introduce you. The beautiful Miss Vance is my wife. What a wonderful surprise, honey. I had no idea Dad adopted you." Ryan tried to climb the stairs to the stage, intending to embrace Eliza, but 2 burly security guards quickly blocked his path, their muscular arms forming a barrier across his chest. "Sorry, sir. No one is allowed on stage without authorization," one said coldly. "Hey, don't you know who I am? I'm her husband. Get out of my way," Ryan barked. He then looked at Eliza with a pathetic, pleading expression. "Honey, tell them. I want to come up. I've missed you so much." On the stage, Eliza hadn't moved a muscle. Her expression was as flat and cold as ice. She took the microphone from Mr. Davenport's hand and slowly walked to the edge of the stage, looking down on Ryan from above. Their positions were now perfectly, poetically reversed. "Husband?" Eliza's voice, clear and calm, carried through the speakers. "I'm sorry, sir. You must be mistaken." Ryan's smile froze. "What? What are you talking about? It's me, Ryan. Your husband, Ryan. Stop joking, Liz. People are watching." Eliza's lip curled into a smirk that made the hair on Ryan's arms stand up. "As I recall, my husband is a man who values his image above all else," she said, her voice soft but her tone sharp as a razor. "He told me he was disgusted to have a wife who looked like a bum. He said his wife was a panhandler who embarrassed him in front of clients. In fact, just yesterday afternoon at Le Ciel, my husband ran out the back door and left his wife to be detained by the manager because she couldn't pay for the lunch he'd forced on her." A wave of murmurs swept through the ballroom. The guests' gazes, once admiring of Ryan, now turned suspicious and disgusted. Ryan's face was chalk white, sweat pouring down his temples. "Eliza, don't talk about this here. We can talk at home," he pleaded, trying to signal her with his eyes to stop. But Eliza wasn't finished. "You say you're my husband," she leaned forward slightly. "Then you must know where I slept last night, right? You must know that I didn't eat all day yesterday because I was kicked out of your business lunch." Ryan was speechless. He glanced back at Jessica, who was now pointedly looking away, pretending to be fascinated by her drink, distancing herself from the sinking ship. Mr. Davenport stepped forward to stand beside Eliza. He stared down at Ryan with a look that suddenly reminded Ryan of the old janitor he had scorned the day before, Ryan Prescott. Mr. Davenport called out. "Yes, sir," Ryan stammered. "I hear you were expecting an announcement about your promotion to regional director," Mr. Davenport said casually. A tiny flicker of hope ignited in Ryan's chest. Maybe Mr. Davenport would still be professional about this. That's right, sir. I've worked very hard. Worked hard? Mr. Davenport interrupted with a small, mirthless laugh. He tapped a button on the tablet in his hand. The giant screen behind the stage lit up. It wasn't a sales chart that appeared, but CCTV footage. The footage showed the scene in the restaurant lobby yesterday, with Ryan shoving Eliza roughly. Then it switched to a clip of Ryan checking into the Grand Imperial Hotel that afternoon with Jessica. And finally, a screenshot of Ryan's text messages, with one vile line highlighted. "Get rid of that trashy old jacket of your dad's. I'm sick of looking at it." The entire room gasped. Cries of, "Oh my God," and "unbelievable" could be heard. "Is this your definition of working hard, Ryan?" Mr. Davenport's voice thundered with rage. "Using company hotel facilities to commit adultery during business hours? Falsifying client meeting reports when you were actually indulging yourself? And worst of all, abandoning the wife who has been your emotional backbone for years?" Ryan felt naked. All of his dirty secrets had been laid bare in front of hundreds of influential people. His legs buckled. He wanted to run, but his feet felt like they were encased in concrete. That's fake. It's edited," Ryan denied frantically, his voice a desperate shriek. "Eliza, how could you conspire with this old man to destroy me? You're a treacherous wife." Eliza looked down at her husband with an expression of pity, not because she felt sorry for him, but pity for how pathetic a man so desperate for respect could become. "Enough, Ryan," Eliza cut in, her voice firm. "From this moment on, do not ever speak my name with your filthy mouth again." She turned to Mr. Davenport. "Sir, as the controlling shareholder, do I have a say in HR decisions?" "Of course you do, Madam Chairwoman," Mr. Davenport replied respectfully. Eliza turned back to face Ryan, her voice ringing out for one final, devastating sentence. "Ryan Prescott," she declared, "on behalf of the shareholders, I am informing you that you are fired, with cause, from all subsidiaries of the Davenport conglomerate. Your company car, housing allowance, and corporate credit cards are revoked, effective immediately. Please exit the building now, before security has to drag you out like the trash you are." Ryan's world went black. The two security guards, the very same ones who had detained Eliza the day before, who had since apologized profusely and now stood firmly on her side, marched forward and seized Ryan's arms. "Let go of me! I'm a manager! I'm the boss's husband!" Ryan thrashed and screamed like a madman as he was dragged backward, away from the stage. He looked up and saw Eliza standing tall, radiant, and untouchable. Meanwhile, one of his own expensive shoes came off as he was being dragged, just like Eliza's flip-flop had been left behind at the restaurant yesterday. Karma had been paid in full, with interest, and it was agonizing. And amidst his pathetic screams, Ryan saw Jessica, his mistress, slipping out a side door, not even glancing back to help him. 3 months had passed since that earth-shattering night. The sound of the judge's gavel in the family court was like a second death sentence for Ryan. Bang. Their divorce was final. There were no assets to divide. Everything Ryan had flaunted turned out to be company property or bought on credit cards that were now in default. Ryan walked out of the courthouse, his shoulders slumped. He was thin and gaunt, his face covered in an unkempt beard. His expensive suits had long been sold at a pawn shop to pay for cheap meals. Today, he wore a faded flannel shirt and ill-fitting trousers that were loose around his waist. In the parking lot, no company car was waiting for him. Even the used motorcycle he'd financed a month ago had been repossessed that morning in front of his dingy studio apartment. The midday sun was scorching, but Ryan's heart felt frozen. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a cheap, cracked smartphone. He opened his messaging app and stared at a contact whose profile picture now seemed to radiate an otherworldly glow. My ex-wife. His fingers trembled as he typed another message, the 100th he'd sent this week, none of which had ever been answered. Ryan. Liz. The judge made it final. We're officially divorced, but I swear, I still love you. I'm broken, Liz. I'm living in this roach-infested apartment. I only eat once a day. Jessica took what little money I had left and disappeared. Please, Liz, I need help. I'll be your driver, your gardener, anything, just to be near you again. Ryan hit send. One gray checkmark. Was he still blocked, or had Eliza changed her number? Tears of regret dripped onto the grimy screen. The memory of the old Eliza, the one who made his coffee every morning, who massaged his feet when he came home from work, who wore old clothes so they could save money, that memory now haunted him every night. He had thrown away a diamond to pick up a shard of glass that had cut him to ribbons. Ryan. A soft voice called his name from the direction of the courthouse lobby. Ryan's head snapped up, a flicker of hope in his eyes. Eliza. But the hope died instantly. There, standing near a pillar, was Eliza, looking impossibly elegant in a tailored cream-colored blazer. She was not alone. 2 assistants followed behind her, carrying briefcases, and a gleaming black sedan, the kind of car Ryan had always dreamed of, was waiting at the curb, its engine running. Eliza looked different, completely different. It wasn't just the expensive clothes, it was her eyes. They no longer held any fear or doubt. They were the eyes of a woman who had reclaimed her soul. Ryan started to run towards her, but his path was blocked when Mr. Davenport got out of the car and opened the door for Eliza, like a father watching over his beloved daughter. "Eliza!" Ryan shouted hoarsely, pushing past the barricade of people. "Wait! Just talk to me for a second." One of Eliza's assistants quickly stepped in front of Ryan. "I'm sorry, sir. Miss Vance has a board meeting in 10 minutes. Eliza paused just before getting into the car. She turned and looked at the pathetic figure of the man who was once her husband. There was no anger on her face, no vengeance. Just a flat, neutral expression, as if she were looking at a stranger she'd accidentally bumped into on the street. "My name is Eliza," she said quietly, her voice calm. "Liz, please, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I promise I'll change," Ryan begged, nearly falling to his knees on the hot asphalt. "Let me come back. We can start over from scratch, please." Eliza offered a faint smile, a smile that signaled a permanent farewell. "You can't start from scratch with a glass that's been shattered into a million pieces." "Ryan," she answered wisely, "I gave you my everything when you had nothing, but you threw me away the moment you thought you had everything. Now, you get to live with the consequences of your choices." Eliza touched the silver locket at her neck, the silent witness to her life's journey. "And one more thing," she added, glancing at the phone in Ryan's hand. "Stop sending messages. That number no longer exists, just like my feelings for you. Goodbye, Ryan." Eliza got into the car. The door closed with a solid, final thud, separating 2 worlds that were now galaxies apart. The luxury car pulled away smoothly, leaving a cloud of dust to settle on Ryan's face. Inside the cool car, Eliza took a long, deep breath. The weight on her chest was finally, completely gone. "Feeling better, child?" Mr. Davenport asked, smiling warmly from beside her. "I am, sir." Eliza nodded, her resolve firm. "Thank you for teaching me that a woman's worth isn't determined by her husband, but by herself." Mr. Davenport patted her hand. "Your mother would be so proud of you. Eleanor didn't raise a weak woman." Eliza looked out the window. The city skyline was crystal clear against the bright blue sky. She saw her reflection in the glass. No longer Eliza the shabby wife, no longer Eliza the victim. She was Eliza Vance, an independent woman in complete control of her own destiny. Meanwhile, far behind them, Ryan collapsed onto the hot pavement of the sidewalk. Passers-by shot him looks of disgust, the exact same looks he had once given Eliza. Across the street, a giant news screen on a skyscraper was broadcasting a business report. Eliza's face was on it, featured as one of the year's most inspiring business leaders. Ryan broke down, sobbing uncontrollably, hugging his own knees, utterly alone in the crushing heart of the unforgiving city. He finally understood. The cruelest punishment for a betrayer isn't to be hated, it's to be forgotten, and to be forced to watch the person they discarded soar to heights they can never reach. Life goes on. Eliza moved forward, toward the sun, while Ryan was left behind, forever shackled by the shadows of his own past. The end.